All right. Well, University of Georgia takes care of business in the cocktail party, 34-7 over Florida, in a game in which it was very sluggish for both sides. Georgia did not play well at all. We'll talk about that coming up. But how the game started, well, Georgia went on a decent drive to start the game. 8 plays, about 40-something yards, and then Stetson Bennett on a 3rd down and 1, I believe, he was getting pressured, threw a pass out of bounds that turned out to be an intentional grounding. And that cost Georgia 3 points, and even it could have cost Georgia really 7 when you think about it, because it was only a 4th and 1 at the Florida 20. And Georgia goes out, kicks a field goal, and misses it. Jack Pod misses it wide right. And then both teams went on a punt strand. Florida goes on a decent drive to start the second quarter, misses a field goal too. Then Georgia goes back on a decent drive and takes about, 6 minutes on 11 plays, 63 yards, gets a field goal out of it. And then a bunch of craziness happens. In the next drive, Stetson Bennett throws a terrible pass that was intercepted by, was it Helms? The Florida safety, I think it was Helms. And then literally 2 plays later, Anthony Richardson, as he was coming out of the end zone, fumbles the ball. It was actually just ripped out of his hands by Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith jumped on the ball. Georgia got the ball at the 11-yard line. And it was 3-0 with about 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Georgia gets the ball at the Florida 11. James Cook runs it up the middle for an 11-yard touchdown. Next, 2 plays later, Anthony Richardson throws a ball that I believe was deflected. Was it Trayvon Walker? Got his hand on the ball. It got deflected and intercepted by Nolan Smith. Georgia then throws a deep ball. Stetson Bennett threw actually a nice pass. I think it was to Kearis Jackson on the back shoulder of close to the pylon to Kearis Jackson to make the game 17-0. And then as a Georgia fan, Florida was starting to move the ball. They got past the 50. I was like, well, looks like we will go up at half 17-3. No, Anthony Richardson makes a terrible read, throws a lollipop pass to Malik Davis, and Nakobe Dean jumps right in front of that pass, picks it off, scores, and it is 24-0 at the half. It was literally 3-0 Georgia with 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Georgia went ahead and flipped that and took a 24-0 lead into half, and the game was pretty much over since then. It was just I'm going to be real. It was a terrible game offensively for Georgia. We'll talk about that here in a second, but they start the second half after a good defensive stop with a fumble. Then after another good defensive stop, a missed field goal by Florida, they get a field goal, and then that's pretty much it until Florida ends up scoring a touchdown. Then after the onside kick, Zamir White took it, 40 yards, and Georgia ended up winning 34-7. Looking at the stats, believe it or not, Florida had about 2 more first downs. It was 20-18 compared to the first downs. Third down conversions, Florida was just 4 of 13. That's a plus side. Georgia was 4 of 9. Not great. Florida actually had 1 more yard of total offense than Georgia, but they also had, I think, Florida had about 20, 25 more offensive plays than Georgia. They Florida led in time of possession. Penalties, Florida led in penalties. Florida was actually able to rush for 4.1 yards per carry, which is a plus side if you're a Florida fan, on one of the, if not the best, rush defenses in the country. Wisconsin statistically is number 1. Georgia was number 2 before this week. And Dameon Pierce rushed 9 times for 69 yards. That was that was Florida's best rusher, averaged 7.7 yards per carry. But yeah, other than that, defensively, Georgia was very, very, very good. Offensively, it was kind of disappointing, but held Florida to 7 points. Would have loved to hold Florida to 0, break that insane streak for shutouts by Florida. I think it was 1988, the last time Florida got shut out, and it was to Auburn or something like that. And Georgia wasn't able to finish that out, but still a 34-7 win over your biggest rival. You'll take that all the time. So let's get to some of these comments. As the first comment, fire Dan Mullen. Fire him right now. Don't even let him on the bus. Man, it's going to be tough if you're a Florida Gator fan for the next couple of weeks. JT Daniels must be hurt. Do not know. I thought he was perfectly fine. Sup, Chris? I hear there are 840 fans standing in front of Mullen's house daring him to come out. Good. Oh, the Florida fans. Good game, Georgia. Well, you won by 27. We'll take a 27-point victory over Florida any year. I won't watch Florida football anymore if we don't fire the whole coaching staff and start over from scratch. Gosh. And this is a good question, but hey, how many interceptions do you think it will take to bench Stetson? I do not know. Stetson Bennett played pretty bad today. It was very disappointing. And it was weird. Stetson Bennett came into this game being top 11 or 12 in the nation in passing efficiency. JT Daniels was top 4. Georgia as a team, believe it or not, before this week, Georgia was top 4 in passing efficiency this year. So it was, the numbers were looking good. But then he comes out, plays a terrible game. And the thing is, Stetson Bennett played pretty bad today, and Georgia still won by 27 against Florida, the same Florida team that competed against Alabama. So, the game plan for Florida, I'm going to be real with you. I exactly thought this would happen. They really targeted most of their running backs on those wheels. Dan Mullen loves those wheel routes. But he likes to use his tight ends too, his slot wide receivers as well. So I thought the game plan offensively for Florida was exactly what I thought it would be. But, execution is just the difference. But, hey, if you're a Florida fan, you're able to run 160 yards. I know but you scored 7 points. Those 3 turnovers were very costly. You turned over the ball 3 times in 3 minutes and gave up 21 points. That's where you lost this game. Stetson Bennett didn't do anything spectacular enough for Georgia to win this game. It was the defense. Defense wins championships. And hopefully that's the same case. We got some kind of Miami athletic director going on here. Something going to let us there's George. I love George, though. My Gators were very hard to watch tonight, but we just got what we deserved. It just comes down to execution. I thought the game plan for Florida was actually not that bad offensively. Defensively, it was working absolutely to a crisp. I know Georgia scored 34 points, but 21 of those points came in on that in that last 3 minutes. It's really hard to sit here and watch Stetson Bennett play as a Georgia fan and feel good about it. I'm just going to be real with you. But yeah, defensively for both teams, I thought both teams did really good. Both teams barely even had 350 yards of total offense. Just looking off of total offense, Florida came into this game averaging over 500 yards per game. So Georgia held them 150 yards under what they were getting. And rushing yards, Dan Mullen's rush offense, top 5 in the nation. Georgia held them to 161. Kirby Smart's going to be mad about that. But as a Georgia fan, hey, listen, this is what I expected coming into this game. Florida was going to try to run the ball on Georgia. So to be honest with you, I see this all the time. Florida's defense was not the problem today at all. Florida's defense has not been the problem all year except for one game, and that was against LSU. That defense has done its job for majority of part of this season. They go back to that Kentucky loss. They gave up 13 points and still lost. You go to the Alabama game. Gave up 31 points to Alabama. That is hard to do. Texas A&M and Florida are the only 2 teams this year to hold Alabama's offense to 31 points. So, it just is what it is. Todd Grantham, this defense coming into the season was expected to be top 25 to, at worst, top 40. But last year they were, in the 80s or 90s? And guess what? Florida's defense this year is in the top 35. So, I wouldn't really blame I wouldn't even blame Todd Grantham for this game. Yeah, Florida's defense played really good. Georgia's offense, top 15 in scoring offense. But, man, it's just watching the pass game. I understand Stetson Bennett completed 10 passes and still had 161 yards. But you go back and look at some of these passes that he was throwing and reading, it just looked like he just heaved up some of these or just heaved the ball up on first down plays too, which didn't make any sense. It is what it is. And come to think of it, did he throw 2 interceptions to the same guy? Was it Helms? Oh, no, it was the backup, Rashad Torrance. It wasn't Helms. My bad. Rashad Torrance, he's a backup safety for Florida, had 2 interceptions in this game, and they were easy interceptions too, which made no sense. Yes, Stetson Bennett played pretty bad. Conservative play calling, I wouldn't really consider Dan Mullen's play calling very conservative. To an extent it was, but you got to go back into the first half. They were at a 4th down and 13, I think. Right? They were on a 4th down and 13. They ended up going for it. And to be fair, Anthony Richardson had a guy wide open, and he threw a decent ball. He was getting pressured, but it was great coverage by, I think, Kendrick at that point in time. Yeah, no excuses. This game was not fun to watch if you're really either side, honestly. As a Georgia fan, I was not pleased offensively. I really, really, really feel that if JT Daniels was a starter in this game, I don't think it would have been 34-7. I think it would have been a lot worse. But, it is what it is. You guys hate Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen now falls to 2-7. You'd rather have Scott Frost. Wow. Dan Mullen now falls to 2-7 in the last 9 games against Power 5 teams. That is terrible. That is hard to explain. Wide receivers, it's hard against these Georgia defensive backs. But, yeah, Jacob Copeland, believe it or not, Jacob Copeland had 2 catches in this game. Before this game against UGA, in his past 3 attempts, he had 4 targets for 0 catches. So at least he caught some passes in this game. But, yeah, Dan Mullen really – it seemed like he was really targeting the slot wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs in this game. Let's see. Let me count out how many. Slot wide receiver had 1. Here's a running back. Here's 6, 10, zipper. So 12 out of 22 of the passes were caught by tight ends, running backs, and slot wide receivers. So, and that's what I said on the other video. I expected him to target a lot of those 3. We lost to Kentucky. We lost to Florida. We lost to Alabama. So Georgia still hasn't played anybody. Gosh. But, yeah, Georgia wins 34-7 in a game in which Georgia got outgained by 1 yard. Florida's offense was on the field for, I think, 20-something more plays than Georgia. That's 52. No, it was 74. Wow. So, yeah, 22 plays. Florida had the ball more than Georgia offensively. So, it just is what it is with that. Penalties weren't so much of a factor in this game. It was really those 3 turnovers. The difference in this game for Florida was those 3 turnovers. But, hey, Florida was able to produce 3 turnovers in this game too, and they just got, I think, 0 points out of it. If I'm not mistaken, Florida had an interception. No, Florida was able to get a touchdown after the terrible interception by Stetson Bennett. Made no sense why he threw that pass. Again, both those interceptions were in double coverage. I don't understand the thinking of that. Yeah, that's just George trolling. Georgia, you can't sit here and tell me Georgia hasn't played anybody when Georgia is top 3 in strength of record and top 5 in strength of schedule. So, and that's that. I mean, just look who Georgia has played. Come on. Alabama and whoever Georgia plays in the playoffs will steamroll them. Alabama. Oh, okay. So I don't think anybody is good enough to blow out Georgia. I think there are only two teams. In my personal opinion, from what I've seen, there's only two teams that could beat UGA, and that's Ohio State and Alabama. I don't think Michigan could. I don't think Michigan State could. I don't think Oklahoma could. I sure as heck don't think Cincinnati could. But I think Alabama and Ohio State could beat UGA. Could. If Stetson Bennett was starting, I'd be super worried against either one of those teams. I really hope. I really hope not. But hiring Mullen was a mistake, and we can't put up with that again. We need to get the right guy. Well, if you look at the last three head coaches that you've had, they've all in their last or second to last year had 4-8 seasons. Florida's 4-4. And what happened if you go back to Muschamp and McElwain, what happened in those last seasons? Well, after the UGA game, Florida went on a huge losing streak. Go back to 2013, Muschamp's second to last year, I think. Yeah, it was his second to last year. Florida came into that game 4-3. Georgia was like 4-3 too. Georgia won. Florida ended up losing to an FCS team and finished the year 4-8. Go back to 2017, McElwain's last year. Florida was 4-2 because they had a cancellation. Or no, they were 3-2, right? Something like that. And ended up going on a huge losing streak after UGA and finishing the year 4-7. Could that happen this year with Mullen? If Mullen finishes the year 4-8, it just is what it is. UGA plays who they have on their schedule. UGA's top 5 in strength of schedule. So saying they haven't played anybody is insane. We are opening a brand new $250 million facility for next year's football. We should win 5 national titles. Yeah. There's no excuse for losing. Does Nick Saban have a kid? Okay. Dan Mullen is a traitor. I think he's placed that on the other team before every game. Placed bets. I love George. George is funny on the Uncle Lou on the Uncle Lou live streams. If you ever catch them, I always like listening to George. So who does Georgia play next week? They play Missouri. Missouri is not a good team at all. Yeah, I love George. George is funny. Missouri is not a good team at all. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a home game for UGA. We played Missouri last year with JT Daniels. Absolutely steamrolled them. What was it, 49-14 last year? Boom. Georgia will open up as a huge favorite in that game. That game just won't be close. Missouri couldn't even cover the spread, I don't think, against Vanderbilt. Yeah, Missouri was a 16.5-point favorite, I believe, to start this game. They ended up winning the game by 9 points against Vandy. Missouri has not looked good at all season long. Bazelak has been very disappointing. Comes into the UGA game with 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's just not going to cut it. Missouri has a really good running back, but defensively, Missouri is probably the second or third worst defensive team in the SEC. In fact, they are the second worst. I don't think there's another team other than Vandy. Vandy's the worst team as a whole, as is. But comparing their defenses to other SEC teams, I think Missouri's the 13th is going to be rated 13th in the SEC defensively. So Georgia really shouldn't have a problem running the ball. Missouri is actually the worst rush defensive team in the SEC. They gave up 260 yards. They gave up 260 yards rushing to Vandy. That's 7. They gave up 7 yards per carry against Vanderbilt. Man, that is terrible. Georgia's going to be about a 35-point favorite against Missouri. I think they should be able to cover that. That's how bad Missouri is. But I think Pickens comes back against Georgia Tech. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know anything when it comes to George Pickens when he'll be back. We still haven't seen Dominic Blaylock. Preseason-wise, he was supposed to be back by now. So no JT Daniels either. Not sure he should be the starting quarterback, but I don't want to get into that. I just want my coach fired, and I predict Georgia doesn't win the national title based on what I see. I don't know if Florida will fire him this year. if you finish the year 8-4 and then win your bowl game, he's not getting fired. But if you don't do that, I don't know. You're telling me a team with 100 5-star has a gnome for a quarterback? Are you serious? Yeah. Georgia's got a former walk-on, starting QB. Is what it is when they got JT Daniels on the bench. JT Daniels, if you looked at him on the bench, he looked exactly like he looked last year's Florida game. He looked upset and bored. But again, I'm not going to get into much of that. But hey, I'm glad you guys won as long as we fire Mullen. Again, I think it's going to be hard to fire Darren Mullen unless he absolutely finishes the year terribly. If he goes 8-4, wins the bowl game, you probably play in the Outback Bowl, play a decent Big Ten team, you probably win that. Go 9-4. Yeah, I don't see Florida firing him, but it's going to be hard, honestly. I've seen Florida State. Florida State has been playing a lot better, and from what I've seen in years past with Florida, they always seem to stumble after the Georgia game. That doesn't mean they lose, but they do seem to take a toll after that Georgia game. And you know, Florida players and fans, you know, your season isn't going as planned. You do play a terrible South Carolina team next week. I think you play South Carolina. You play South Carolina on the road next week. South Carolina is one of the worst teams in the SEC. If you find a way to lose that game, Dan Mullen will probably be 100% fired. I don't know if Florida can. I don't know if Florida is going to roll the dice and fire him this year unless something really, really, really bad happens. So all the teams that Georgia has beat suck, so you still haven't played nobody. Arkansas is a good team. They're sitting at 5-3. They'll probably come into the top 25 this year. This week when the playoff rankings come because of their strength of schedule. Auburn is playing right now. They're about to score on Ole Miss. Auburn's ranked 18th in the AP pool. They're not a bad team. And you got Florida and Clemson. So it is what it is with that. Kentucky is a good team. Kentucky's playing Mississippi State right now. So I agree 100%. I'm thinking about Alabama and Ohio State. When I said the teams that could beat UGA, I think Ohio State and Alabama could beat UGA. I don't know if they would. If Stetson Bennett was a starting quarterback for both games, I would probably take either one of those teams, honestly. Georgia's defense, as good as it is, both Ohio State and Alabama are going to score at least 30. So they need to mentally regroup and try to finish strong. Yeah, Florida. And you see, this is the problem with teams in the SEC. Once things get bad and once teams are used to actual great seasons like Florida has in the past, they've had, 3 years in a row making a New Year's Six. They won the SEC East last year. It's going to be hard to motivate some of these players. I'm just being real, especially for what the product that you want to put out on the field is versus reality. So, so there you go. It's not always about what the fans want, obviously, but hey, it is what it is. 2 minutes left in the second half is where I said that earlier. It was literally 3-0 with 3 minutes left in the second half. 3-0. Stetson Bennett throws a terrible interception. And I'm like, well, great. Florida's going to come out. Florida and Georgia are going to go into half. It's going to be 3-0. Florida's going to get the ball to start the second half, and they're going to go down and score a field goal or a touchdown, and then here we go. No. Anthony Richardson's fighting for extra yards. Ball gets ripped out of his hands by Nolan Smith. Georgia scores a touchdown. Then it looked like Anthony Richardson and Dan Mullen and the play calling got a little bit they panicked a bit, and they threw I forget what the play call was. I know it was a pass to Gamble or Zipper. It was going to the tight end. The ball got deflected, I believe, by Trayvon Walker. I forget. But They got intercepted by Nolan Smith. Georgia scores on one play, and then you threw a terrible interception on a linebacker. Basically, it was a linebacker read type of thing. He was going to Malik Davis, and he threw a terrible lollipop pass. That was probably the worst 2 minutes of football I've ever seen by Florida, honestly. But it's not like the offense was doing that. It was clearly the defense. Those 21 points were all defensive, in my opinion. Both of them, one of them was a defensive touchdown. Another one gave Georgia the ball at the 11. The other one gave Georgia the ball inside the 40. So, Dog Nation, there's no way you're winning the national title. I wouldn't say that. Even as a Georgia fan, you can say I'm biased. I think there are two teams right now that could beat Georgia. I'm going to keep saying that: Ohio State and Alabama. If you're a Georgia fan, go watch Ohio State tonight. Ohio State's defense is playing a lot better. In the past 3 games, they played, not great teams. They played Maryland, Rutgers, and Indiana. They've given up, 17 total points. Okay, well, you can tell me, Georgia's only giving up less than 6 points a game. Yeah, but Ohio State's also number 1 offensively, and they're scoring over 50 points per game. So Ohio State, to me, looks like the best team in the country right now. The only reason why they're not is because they have a fluke loss to Oregon at home. And C.J. Stroud looks like the best quarterback in the country. And his wide receivers might make a lot of these plays and might make them look good. But if you watch C.J. Stroud, he's still making some amazing throws and some amazing reads. So I'm just being real. I think Ohio State might be just a little bit better than Georgia right now. We have a way better chance than Florida. Well, yeah, Florida's now 4-4. Ohio State's defense is not that good. No, Ohio State's defense has played a lot better. Don't even look at the stats. If you want to look at stats, look at their stats in the past 3 games. Their stats are very, very, very good defensively in the past 3 games for sure. I understand that Ohio State gave up 200 yards in the first game to Minnesota rushing. They gave up 200 yards in the second game against Oregon. Ever since then, it's been a completely different Ohio State team. They are very, very, very good. They look like the best team in the country. I'm just being real. Dameon Pierce averaged around 8 yards per carry. Yep. Again, I don't know. Listen, Dameon Pierce needs to get if I'm a Florida fan, I don't understand this with Dameon Pierce. Does he only average 10 or 11 carries per game? He's clearly your best running back. I could be wrong about that. I got to look this up now. You guys did this last year too, when he was clearly the best running back on the team. Yeah, he only has 46 attempts on the year. He's only averaging 8 or 9 carries per game. I don't know what that's about, honestly. So, yeah, I think we talked about that. Who cares about Florida losing? I had you took Clemson minus 9.5. I actually took Florida State plus 10. Did Clemson end up covering that? If they did, they covered it late. They did. Wow, Clemson actually covered. Clemson covered on a last-second touchdown. Wow. George, too bad your team got steamrolled. Yeah. No, George is a good guy. He likes to do this. He's funny. If you ever watch him on the Uncle Lou live streams, he's pretty funny. Gross. George is always here after every game. It doesn't matter if Florida wins by 100 or loses by 100. So at least he's out here showing some support for his team. Fraud Mullen tried to copy Ed Orgeron and end up losing 4 games. Again, if you're talking about last season, Florida's offense, their passing offense was scheming-wise was the best in the country. I know, and that is including Alabama. I would take Florida's passing scheme over Alabama's. It's because of how well they could spread the ball out, not just to their number 1 or 2 or 3 wide receivers. They had an elite tight end, and it wasn't even just Kyle Pitts, especially towards the end of the year. Florida was targeting Zipper, Gamble, almost all their tight ends and even running backs too. Dan Mullen does a really good job with that, but now he doesn't have passing attack this year, or wide receiver, so it's going to be tough. But for this year, Florida, if you've been watching Florida football, their main purpose is to run the football with their running backs, and their quarterbacks. Florida's two leading rushers this year are their two quarterbacks, which is insane. But hey, it is what it is. Let me see. Clemson, yeah, I saw that. But yeah, so Florida ends up losing this game by 27 points. Pretty much lost the game in the second quarter. But in the last 3 minutes of the second quarter, that's really hard to explain. If you just take away the last 3 minutes of the second quarter, we're looking at, a 13-7 game. We're looking at a completely different game because Stetson Bennett was just not good enough. He would not have been good enough, in my opinion, to win this game. He didn't play that well. I don't know if he would have done anything spectacular if this game was much closer, if we didn't have those last 3 minutes of the game. But hey, Georgia plays Missouri next week. I am expecting this game to be a noon Eastern kickoff. I know it has not been decided yet, and I know what is it? I know Auburn and Ole Miss are playing right now. That actually does take into effect which will be the SEC game of the week. So I do not expect Georgia to get a late game. I do expect them to get a noon game kickoff. I know a lot of Georgia fans will be disappointed with that. So it is what it is. So you might see me around 3-ish, 3 p.m. Eastern time next week. But Georgia does play Missouri. They host them. This game should not be close. I'm very confident that whatever the spread is, I will take Georgia in that. That's just how bad Missouri has been this year. Missouri is one of the worst Power 5 teams there are in the country. I know they're 4-4. They're 1-3 in the SEC, but just watch Missouri play. They are terrible, man. My goodness. It just is what it is. I like this right here. Take away the home runs, take away the walk-offs. Who'd be in the World Series right now? Listen, I understand that thinking, and hey, it is what it is. But I was just saying, if you were to just take away those last 3 minutes, this game could have been much closer. Let's just be real here. Did Stetson Bennett play good enough to win this game? No. If we're being real, did any part of Georgia's offense play good enough to win this game? No, they did not. It was that last 3 minutes of second quarter. All right. That's where Florida lost the game. It was really coaching on Dan Mullen. Watching those play calls was just mind-boggling. Florida was doing quite well running the football and throwing these short seam passes. They come out with a completely different look to try to score on Georgia. And understand, the coaching philosophies are a little bit different. But listen, you got to keep running the same plays. I know you didn't score any points. I understand, but still, you were getting yards on Georgia. You come out flat after a great interception. That strip fumble, okay, that was just a great play defensively. Go down 10-0. But then you run a weird, and again, I don't even know what play this was. Listen, the ball was deflected off of, and it goes down to luck. But I think it was deflected off of Trayvon Walker's hands. Anthony Richardson was looking for the tight end at the 25-ish, 30-ish yard line. If the ball isn't deflected, it probably is a catch. Georgia gets, really lucky with that. But then you go down 17-0, and then that was just a terrible interception by Anthony Richardson. That was just a terrible read, which made no sense. Actually, they did, buddy. The offense outscores anything Florida did. Come on, kid, learn the game. When Georgia is handed points, they are obviously going to outscore Florida. I don't understand what you're trying to say with that. That actually made no sense. 17-7 without the dominant defense that you want to play the takeaway. The game. that was after Georgia had a lead. So there are a little bit of factors if you add into that. Just saying, if you want to add factors into that, well, Georgia threw 2 interceptions, fumbled the ball. Florida only scored 7 out of that. And also, by the way, it was 27-0 when Florida scored. So again, I'm just saying how the game could have gone. I'm not saying if you take away this or that, but hey, it is what it is. Like I said, Georgia plays Missouri next week. My gosh. Missouri just played Vanderbilt, couldn't cover 16 points at home against Vandy. That's embarrassing. It doesn't even matter where you play Vandy. If you can't cover 16, you can't even cover the spread against Vandy. That is very disappointing. Missouri's defense, one of the worst in the SEC, if not the worst. Missouri's front seven has played absolutely terrible, which is weird because go back to a couple of years prior, Barry Odom especially, he's always had a solid defensive line. Now, new administration, new coaching, it just has not looked the same for Missouri. They do not look good at all. Bazelect has 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Missouri's bright spot is the running back, but Georgia's one of the best running back rush defenses in the country. And then we're playing one of the worst rush defenses in the country in Missouri, who's giving up over 200-something yards per game, which is insane. They gave up 260 yards rushing to Vanderbilt on just almost 40 carries. That's about 7 yards per carry. That's insane. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Georgia takes care of business. They beat Florida 34-7 in a cocktail party. This was not fun to watch if you're a Florida fan. It was kind of good to see the Georgia defense roll. But the Georgia-Florida series has always been really much of a defensive battle. Last year is to an extent. 44-28 was the score last year. The year before was 24-17. And then it's really this series has really been about defense. Georgia's defense, clearly the best on the field and obviously the best in the country. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me see. Let's see. I simply applied your same logic. We can play takeaway in this all game. It's called That's Why You Play the Game. Well, yeah. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys next week. As I am expecting, Georgia, Missouri will be a noon game. I will be surprised if they make this the night game. It's just because of how bad Missouri is. I know LSU hasn't been anything special this year, but I think LSU-Bama is going to be a way better game than Georgia-Missouri, and I do expect LSU-Bama to be a blowout too. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week for Georgia-Missouri. Thank you, guys. Peace.